Hello, guys. Welcome back to Evolve, Learn, Live, Thrive. This is Daniel Speiss, and today we're going to talk about Andrew Tate. Why Andrew Tate when it comes to your red pill information about all things life, interpersonal relationships, and business. Um, I first wanted to say that I'm starting off this video with with kind of like a kudos because I stumbled upon Andrew Tate maybe like a couple weeks ago, and just kind of came out of the blue. Just started, popping up on my Instagram as probably everybody who's into him did, and slowly I started to just check out his content, mostly the relational stuff, and it really hooked me. It really grabbed me, and it's grabbing a lot of guys because we're living in I'm only speaking, I guess, for Western society right now, which is what he likes to talk a lot about. But he's talking a lot about how the interpersonal relationships are in the Western world between men and women. He talks about marriage. He talks about respect, trust, loyalty, promiscuity, all these things, and just the red pill stuff behind it. And if you don't know who Andrew Tate is, he's a guy just kind of living life in Romania, living large with his brother, traveling the world, it looks like, and doesn't really need to put out content about the stuff he's putting out. It's really just, it seems like, based off of what he said, it's just content that he thinks that the world will benefit from, and um, that's pretty much all the reason why he's doing it. He doesn't, he could sit, as in his own words, he could sail off into the sunset and never, you know, never have to do anything, never have to lift a finger, makes oodles of money, has tons of money. So it's interesting that he's choosing this path of uh, you know, kind of rocking the boat, socially, and pissing off a lot of women, and having a lot of men flock to him, and really take in what he's saying. There's a lot of guys like on these comments, and just tons of folks, just like tons of dudes, just really appreciating what he's saying. And you know, I don't even really think it's the red pill stuff that's really attracting guys. Part of me when I first started looking into this, and I'm like, first thing I saw was, okay, cool. There's a lot of common sense to what he's saying, and the second thing that I noticed was just there's just a lot of guys just you know involved in this Andrew Tate movement, and part of me was like thinking, why is this happening? And of course, I know why it's happening. With there being a war on essentially everything in you know the United States and the Western world, health, relationships, marriage, business, success, diet, like there's so much stuff that's just being at war with. Go figure, relationships would be one of those things. And you know and to a degree, I resonate with this idea, but like a lot of guys, they really find comfort in Andrew Tate's messages, because not only is he speaking the truth, he's literally speaking to the very challenges that men face. And it's ironic because it takes two to tango. Just as much as men face these issues, women also are facing these issues. And you know, based off of his sentiment, a lot of the challenges that men face having to do with women are a byproduct of these bigger agendas of society and culture, and the death of masculinity, and all these things. And I think guys are just really they just really resonate with the fact that somebody understands their hardships. Guys living life on hard mode. It's like there's not many there's not much support in a guy's life, right? In this kind of way. And I think, dudes are so team Andrew Tate just because he is speaking a message that speaks to dude struggles. It speaks to their future ambitions. It speaks to their concerns. And I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. I think, there's going to be hopefully a good movement back to some of the things he's saying, like traditional values, um, guys having, you know, leading life off of faith, masculine energy, living, being, owning up and living in their masculine, and really self-correcting this like modernization of interpersonal relationships, not necessarily like a modern woman thing, but the really like really getting rid of the modernization of interrelationships, interpersonal relationships. And what I mean by that is, there's just so much pervading society right now in terms of how men and women interact with one another, and a lot of feminizing men, a lot of masculinating women. Um, the 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 weighing out, the equalizing of the genders, and what that's doing to society. And Andrew Tate's really big on this. And I mean, when I first saw him, he was on this this podcast, and with a couple folks, men and women, and he was speaking. So the podcast really just kind of it brings men and women on, and they talk about the differences and what's going on, and perspectives, and how things are and what the reality is for both men and women. And I think that this is just like such a great beginning of a recorrecting of you know gender roles, of how men and women interact with one another. Not necessarily the death of equality. I think that um, I think that you know men and women should have equality, and I'm an egalitarian in nature. I think that, but beyond equality, there's a lot there, and I don't think you know equality in it just in itself is really the biggest component of what's going on here. Where I don't think Andrew Tate in a lot of ways is preaching some of the things that people are getting angry about. I think a lot of people need to get into kind of the messages he's saying. um I think there's a fun, like, I think it's not mutually exclusive. Equality and gender roles and how people interact with the opposite sex biologically. I think equality is a separate component. It's more of a societal thing. But I think when you look at more of the micro, and um, you look at what Andrew Tate's saying about just things, just like the red pill stuff that he's saying. You can take anything. Um, I think a lot of guys resonate with that. A lot of guys want to be masculine. They want to be the people leading in relationships. They want to feel like they have the space. They want to feel that the women are going to be women in relationships and not the man. They want a feminine, submissive woman if you're a masculine guy. Like, there's just these fundamental things that he talks about, even in business. Like, I think the biggest topics he talks about is business and interpersonal relationships. And it's comical to me how, after really digesting his content, seeing the whole spectrum of where people are, it's interesting how much people are just still very anti when they aren't really listening, and they're not really understanding his messages. I think we're just in a culture right now that's just so triggered uh, emotionally. I think that freedom of speech has really taken a back seat to the social podium, and it's cool to see folks like Andrew Tate bring it back, to be based, to be candid with how things are and just how he views things. And it's funny because he gets so much backlash, and it's funny because he's not doing this for anything but to help the world become a better place again. Like he's mentioned, he can just ride into the sunset. He doesn't need to be here at all. um, and he just doesn't need to be spouting out these messages. And it's funny because like that's, you know, he's just doing it on his own accord, right? And the only incentive is that he wants purpose in this, and he doesn't want to probably ever regret, towards the end of his life. There's more to life than just, like he said, girls and whatever. Um, and so for me personally, I really resonate with a lot of what he says, specifically because he understands, the challenges that I face as a guy. He understands the hardships and challenges, but he's also encourages men to push through. He encourages guys to do X, Y, Z. Um, and I think that with so many men out there that don't have great male role models, or like fathers or just mentors, or if they're not lucky enough to have those kinds of figures in their life, um, Andrew Tate and other people like him, and I've had that all growing up too. Like I grew up with a single mom mostly, and I gravitated online to dudes that I thought that I could really resonate with. And Andrew Tate's one of those guys that I do like. I could listen to. He's like just that social media drill sergeant in the background, and I think that's the coolest thing. um, so that's so why Andrew Tate. I think Andrew Tate's relevant. I think he's important. He's going to be an important figure in changing things. Hopefully, hopefully he'll impact society in this interrelational way, in a big way. I can see him really changing lives here, and he already has. And I approve of the work that he's doing, and I really vibe with it because evolve is really predicated on evolving and going through personal evolution, and you know getting Andrew Tate on my feed really reawoken just parts of my mind and my life that I really needed to hear again and do again. And yeah, so I think this is more not only just a tribute video to Andrew Tate, but I think that if you're in if you're in the business for personal development, whether you're a guy or a girl, his content's relevant, it's productive, it's going to really make you think, it's going to make you question the status quo, it's going to make you question what you've been fed on a silver spoon. And yeah, it's good stuff. I've been listening to it for a couple weeks, and uh, normally I don't like. Normally, like I just don't keep scrolling on Instagram. Normally, I can like let go of the content that's on there. Nothing, because up until his stuff, I really just wasn't on Instagram like that. But now it's there, and it's there every 9 out of 10 times. So take it for what you will. But would love to hear you guys' thoughts on Andrew Tate, what y'all think of him, and have you done the deep dive? Is there anything that stood out to you that you think's good, that's bad? You know, what do you think about um, his overall message in you know interrelational dynamics, all the stuff that he covers in those areas in business and relational dynamics? Definitely would like your thoughts. Drop a comment down below. Would love to hear back from you guys. All right, and thanks again for watching this video and all the way up into the end. We're at 14 minutes. Don't want to take too much of your time. We'll see you next video. Take care.